All right, MMA Maniacs, it's time once again for your weekly Everything MMA show, Split Decision MMA podcast, recorded live in Ruloff Family Inc. studios. Check us out on Spreaker, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and iTunes, or our own website, splitdecisionmma.com. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram at SD_MMA or Facebook under Split Decision MMA Podcast.
Are you a fighter looking to up your promotional game and earn some sponsorship? Then you need to do yourself a favor and check out MMAsomnia.com. They have the tools you need to get yourself sponsored and promoted like a champ. That's MMAsomnia.com. You looking for some new killer threads to show your love of MMA? Then head on over to AmericanaMMA.org. They have the badass MMA wear you're looking for, and if you use our promotion code SDMMA, you'll get 10% off your entire purchase. That's AmericanaMMA.org.
All right, I think we paid all the bills.
Jesus Christ. This is an advertiser manifesto.
Hey, dude, they call me Dennis Kaczynski, dude.
I'm just happy you mentioned us first.
I did.
We're paying ourselves first.
We are.
Even though I haven't got paid yet.
Yeah. Hey, there's people that recognize us.
True.
You are those guys that do that thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one thing.
All right, so let's break into some MMA news that happened over the past week. Robert Drysdale, remember we had talked about him failing his test. The UFC gave him another chance. He failed again. He's now been suspended for 1 year for his failed PED test.
For the actual, they actually found a PED in him.
Yes.
Okay. Not elevated like the Kunk thing.
Right. This was done by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. This wasn't the UFC's Athletic Commission when they were operating in some country that doesn't have one. This was an actual athletic commission.
And it's a PED, not an IED, right? Not an IED.
Yeah,
Okay,
they found a PED in his body.
Okay.
He had elevated testosterone levels at the time. They were 4-1. It's been a big issue with him. At one point, he had tests revealing that they were 12-1.
Wow.
That's quite a bit.
You know, I'm going to keep reading. I'm going to find out exactly how, because again, there's a natural way to get these levels high. I know it's not going to be 12-1. I don't think.
No, but, that's not natural.
No, but I'm interested to see what it is, what you can peak yourself out at.
Interesting.
I'm going to get back on that one.
All right, so we had Carlos Condit got injured back in March, UFC 171, when he took a low kick and collapsed holding his knee. The ref stepped in. That was against Tyrone Woodley. He's now saying that he should be back returning this March or April coming up in 2015. I'm excited to see Natural Born Killer come back.
Oh, yeah.
He's always a great fighter, always brings it. Obviously, nothing on the table yet. We just know that it is possible he will be back March, April of 2015.
Yeah, it's almost like we're just gonna have to have parallel fighters.
Yeah,
because I mean,
things like this. We have Andrei Arlovsky's now going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks due to shoulder surgery.
Again, what are these guys doing? What are these guys? Are they training or are they just mangling each other?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of these guys, when you talk about the old school days with Shootabox, with Vanderlei Silva and Shogun and Ninja Hua, and you know, a lot of those guys back then, Pedro Hizzo and a lot of those guys back then, they were going full bore in training all the time. Like knocking each other out unconscious in training and then continually like
and it's
funny,
funny,
it was a normal thing.
Right, and it's funny because in other sports right now, they're trying to go the opposite way. I mean, with concussions and all, football's trying to get away from full pad practices.
Yeah.
You know,
you can barely touch anybody anymore in football.
It's pretty crazy. I don't know if it's worth, you know, and the other thing I'm thinking about too is we had a fighter who came into a fight with a broken arm, right?
Hit it, yeah, Hector Lombard.
Specifically so that he could get...
Or no, that was, excuse me, not Hector Lombard, that was Ryan Ford.
Right,
Jake
so that
Shields,
he could get on the UFC medical.
Well,
so I mean,
World Series of Fighting, but yeah.
Yeah, but see, so is that something that maybe that's what these guys are doing? They get in, they get 2 fights, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way,
my ribs are broken.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these injuries also figure it, because like I have a problem with they pick these fighters out of nowhere. It seems like to fight these ranked fighters, but when you have people that are constantly getting hurt all the time, it's kind of hard to have a ranking system where they're consistently fighting. When you have people that are training and
right and filling the gap with somebody who's on the ladder is a big risk for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about the ranking system. Mark Raimondi from Fox Sports actually has been arguing about the current ranking system that the UFC has, saying that it's very inconsistent. Because now, as you know, the ranking system is set up by media members at each panel. They're allowed to pick, whoever, and that's how they change the rankings. So it's not the UFC that does the rankings.
Yeah, because
it's actual media members that you can become a part of.
Right.
And become on the panel of. And he's pointing out there are several issues, especially with fighters who should not be eligible for voting that are still included. Thiago Silva is still eligible to be voted. Obviously, he's not even with the company anymore. He's been removed. Brandon Silva can be voted on, and he fights for ONE FC. Peggy Morgan, Roxanne Modafferi both fight for Invicta. They no longer fight. He was saying, Anthony Johnson jumped 2 points from number 4 to number 2, which pushed Rashad Evans down to number 3 after Phil Davis beat Glover. What do those two guys have anything to do with?
Well, I mean...
You know what I mean? Like,
you know who would really like to hear your story, people? Is the people in college football. Because they love the AP as much as you love your group of people who are picking your numbers.
They're talking about how things like Rin Nakai and Nate Diaz both showed back up in the database, and they got an alert saying, hey, these are both people that are now in the database that you can vote on. However, Nick Diaz has been back for 2 weeks in the ranking system, but they didn't make an announcement. So they could be, and he should be listed somewhere in the top 15 welterweights. But he's not, because nobody knows that he's eligible to be voted on.
Really?
Unless you really dig to find his name.
Top 3? Off of 3 losses?
Top 15.
Top 15?
Top 15.
Off of 3 losses?
Top 15? I would say so, yeah.
Okay.
Some of the guys he's beat and some of the guys he's had to fight against, and it's not like he lost.
Yeah, but he hasn't
decisions.
been around. I think you should lose. You should lose, Mark, when you don't come and fight.
But I mean, to a point.
Right.
Again, that's why I said top 15, not top 5.
Okay.
Top 15.
All right. I jumped the gun.
But I mean, it's kind of crazy how the way the ranking system is set up right now. So, like you're saying, it's hard to find guys to put in the ranking system, especially if they have guys you can't even vote on, or people that you can vote on that shouldn't be even allowed to have votes.
Yeah, they shouldn't be a bubble on the Scantron.
They definitely need to readjust and make sure that they stay updated. Ian McCall was recently on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, and he's basically talking about what we talked about for a long time, and he seems to agree with this, is that when it comes to the flyweight division, it seems like not a lot of people care.
I'm putting Ian McCall down as a listener. I mean,
I think he knows because he's in the division.
Oh, so that's where you think he's getting his insider information?
He says, I quote, "I've come to the conclusion that it's not racism, it's like small personism. No one really gives a shit about us, and it's true. I mean, maybe it's Demetrius' fault for not being a marketable guy, even though he's an amazing athlete. Maybe it's my fault for not beating him up when I should have. Maybe people just don't care about seeing small, half-sized people fight. I don't know what it is, and it's frustrating. At the same time, you just got to get over it, whatever. I'll go in there and do my job."
It's not true. I tune in every Saturday to watch Popeye whip people's ass. He was the littlest guy.
Yeah, compared to Bluto. Yeah, I guess so.
Everybody. Even them weird witches on the island.
Right.
Yeah.
No, well, what you're talking about, I don't know if it was last week or, well, it wasn't last week, but these small guys, they can come in and whoop our ass, they're good fighters.
Right, but like I told
when you watch them, it's just like...
Yeah, but there's there's guys up in there, I'll get in there, kick some ass. Come here, little guy. It'd be like the Tasmanian devil.
But there is something about watching two little guys fight that's not as impressive as seeing these big-ass dudes go at it.
It's pretty crazy, yeah. And like I said, we talked about the 2 times Demetrius Johnson has been in a title fight, the main fight, and people are already walking out of the arena to not watch their fights. And again, is it Demetrius Johnson or is it just the smaller fights?
I think it's a smaller fight because the same thing.
Do you think they're not going to be as many knockouts in the smaller fights? Like, well, obviously the light heavyweight division and the heavyweight division, they're always exciting. People want to see those fights because they usually end in a knockout or some sort of submission. Even at welterweight and middleweight, you just have some great ambassadors there, champions that are holding it down, that are putting on good fights. But again, Demetrius Johnson is a guy who's dominant every time he goes in, and he looks more and more dominant every time he comes in. Maybe it's just lack of competition that people don't care about?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of boxing. In boxing, flyweight and featherweights don't draw a lot of crowds. They just don't. And again, like you said, it starts at welterweight.
Yeah. Do you think it's the crossover there that boxing fans
definitely
moved over to MMA? They don't look at the little guys. They look at the older guys.
And then to take it a step further, if you go to wrestling, if you go and watch these underweights, until you start getting around the 160, 170 range, that's when the crowds start coming in. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe America just wants to see 2 big men get it on. I don't know.
It's very interesting. But it's interesting also to see a fighter from that weight class's perspective, and he actually recognizes it. So, I don't know, maybe we could see. He's a character himself.
It's like...
He likes to talk trash. He's got the mustache. His nickname's Uncle Creepy.
It's almost like watching F1 cars versus go-karts. You know what I mean? Because, the people driving the go-karts, they're really good drivers as well. Some of these crazy ass go-karts. But
and truly,
something about having the larger car.
Yeah,
in the whole
and
track,
truly, right? In some of these tracks, it's more skill to drive the cart.
Yeah.
Than it is to drive the.
Yeah, because it's more you. Than
Right.
It is,
Yeah.
So we know John Jones lost his sponsorship with Nike after his brawl with Daniel Cormier.
I'll kill you.
Well, now he's going to their competitor. He is in talks with Reebok to get his own brand, his own line.
I'll kill you, Nike.
We're not gonna see any more Bones Nose because that's obviously the whole Nike. I mean, what are we gonna get from Reebok though? I mean, any ideas on that? You can't. The Just Do it doesn't work anymore. The Just DUI, and it's just sad to me that you can't get that shirt.
New from Reebok, John Jones, just shut the fuck up. I lace him up and I just keep my mouth shut now.
So, and I mean, they gave him fight shorts, they gave him his own line of shoes, they gave him all kinds of stuff. His own line, like I said, the Bones Nose. So we'll see what Reebok can do if this deal actually goes through, since he's lost his Nike deal. Anderson Silva signed a new 15-fight contract, which makes those. He's going to be 60. Dude's going to be 60 years old, still fighting. 15 fights, Anderson Silva. Seriously.
Because Tops, if he does like a Cerrone and fights 12 times a year,
right. Mind you, he still had 7 fights on his contract
after the
Diaz fight. So he had 7 fights left, and they decided to put it together, cancel the current contract, and make it a 15-fight deal.
When I'm reading this deal, I'm wondering if like Cerrone or I'm trying to think of somebody else who's fought a lot. Well, McGregor's getting on that path as fighting a lot. I wonder if it's like, okay, you sign a five fight contract, right? And they're like, if you can get 8 in. We'll give you a bonus on them 3 fights.
I think it's just securing his future, and especially from the UFC standpoint, it's securing that he's going to retire in the UFC. He's not going anywhere else, no matter how much money somebody's going to offer him. He's got 15 fights. Is it just one of those, like, are they going to use it for other? Okay, we're going to trade in one of your fights for. You're going to be a commentary in Brazil. We're going to trade in one of those fights for. Now you're going to do a photo shoot with an all Anderson Silva calendar.
Okay.
We're going to turn in one of. You know what I mean? Like, what's he going to do?
Hey, for
already launching right now at that same time, they announced that he's going to be the coach opposite Shogun for Ultimate Fighter Brazil 4. Now they're not going to fight each other,
right?
Because they're not in the same weight class. Now, technically Anderson could move up to 205. He's done it before and fight, but that's not going to happen. They're just going to have 2 legendary Brazilian fighters be the coaches. I mean, we saw it with Matt Hughes and Rich Franklin back at Ultimate Fighter 2. They didn't fight, but does this count as one of his fights?
Yeah,
on his contract?
I don't know how it works. And I'm going to put in a term that somebody told me at work. They're like, it's an awful lot of money for a fighter who's already walking around with a metal fucking bar in his leg. Like you said, obviously he has his, they're going to be able to use him for other things.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it really seems like that's what they're locking him down to.
Yeah.
But I mean,
he's UFC branding. He's going to be
in Brazil
for everything.
Like if they're going to have a UFC Brazil channel,
right?
That's the guy that's going to be on there,
right?
Because his English is still not up to par.
It's okay.
It's normal.
So, what do you think about the Ultimate Fighter Brazil 4? Are you interested in the series? Now, I was talking to our Korean correspondent Albert, who is alive. I was able to actually get proof of life, and we were talking about how I really haven't watched any of the Brazil seasons.
And neither is he, because he's working 3 jobs.
Yeah, but I catch him every now and then. I catch it, like we found one on Telemundo,
right?
Along with the TUF Latin America. It's on Telemundo right now, live. If anybody's been paying attention, that's the one with Cain Velasquez and Fabricio Verdum, who are not going to be fighting in December. However, it's just they put him up on Fight Pass. Obviously, it's very big in Brazil. It's like the number one thing that they air. But it's interesting that I like the coaches' choices because obviously it's very Brazil. It's 2 of their top stars.
But okay, do they take a lot of? Is it all Latin fighters?
In the Brazilian, it's all Brazilian fighters.
Okay, it's all Brazilian.
In Latin America, it was Brazilian and anybody from any of the Latin American countries.
Okay, so there's not going to be. They're all going to speak Brazilian, right?
Yes. So this is not going to air in the United States unless it's on one of the other global channels. I know it's going to be on Fight Pass.
Yeah.
But they are going to put it in Las Vegas this time so they can control it. They've done them before in Brazil, and they just said due to production it's been a nightmare. And they're going to move it up to Las Vegas just so everything's easily taken care of.
So everybody from Arizona, Florida, just are not going to even pay attention to it. You know, they don't do well with subtitles. Even though, didn't we say Nick Diaz needed them?
Yeah, and Nate Diaz needed him in the last UFC Embedded episode, but yet Conor McGregor did not. And neither did Junior Dos Santos. So it's very interesting. Some upcoming fighter information and news of guys that are coming in. Kron Gracie's going to be making his MMA debut. They're talking about in December. He's going to be fighting for Real Fighting Championships in Tokyo, Japan. A lot of people are interested to see Kron come in and make his MMA debut. He's obviously one of the Gracies, one of the trainers. He's worked his way through. His Uncle Hickson will be in his corner as a mentor. More guys coming in. We have going to be our first back to the Japan freak fight style fight. We have Gabi Garcia, who we've talked about quite a bit on this show, will be making her MMA debut alongside Kron Gracie for Real Fighting Championship. She's going to be fighting Megumi Yabashita. Now, if you look at Megumi Yabashita,
she's 100 pounds lighter.
She's a 135-pound fighter.
Right.
Gabi Garcia says she will weigh in at 205.
But she walks around at 236.
Yeah. So I guess
it's completely unfair.
We're going back to the freak show style fights in Japan.
No, it's an.
I mean, that's really what we're going back to,
right? But it's an unfair fight.
Sakuraba against Fedor. Sakuraba against Randleman. Sakuraba against anybody that's 3 times and 2 weight classes above him.
Right. It's so unfair. I mean, Yabashita should have to put a 100-pound girl on her back if they're going to
help.
Yeah.
It should be a 2-on-1 fight. I'm sure Japan will go for the 2-on-1 fight. It's crazy, in my opinion. They're saying that there's a possibility that she could make 198, 192.
It doesn't matter unless you're going to, like I say, add an additional person in there to make up the weight difference. It's not fair.
That's just
scary. And look,
scary.
she's not like fat.
No. She's just large and in charge.
Look at that face, too. It's like she's going to eat them.
She has got camel hoof like a mow.
We talked about
yeah, that's a major moose knuckle going on.
We talked about the UFC going to Boston with Conor McGregor and Dennis Siver. Well, now we're talking that the fight Donald Cerrone and Miles Jury is official for that UFC Fight Night on Fox, January 18th. It's going to be really interesting to see this fight. Miles Jury and Cerrone, what do you think?
Oh, I want to get a hold of Death Rob and see what's coming out of their little camp about what they think about Cerrone coming to town. That's gonna be a knockdown fight right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Miles got heavy hands.
Oh wow! Actually, they are now moving this fight. Just now read this in. They're now moving this fight now from the Boston card now over to the January 3rd. It will be the co-main event for UFC 182, which will be the John Jones-Daniel Cormier fight, the New Year's card.
Oh, that's right, because there's a fight that's not going to be on there anymore.
The fight that's no longer on the New Year's card, Ronda Rousey against Kat Zingano, is getting moved to UFC 184.
And this was the plan the whole time, I was right.
I don't know if it's been the plan the whole time. As the co-main event for Chris Weidman, Vitor Belfort. However, in the last interview that they had with Ronda Rousey, behind the scenes, she was saying that she wanted to fight on the same card as Chris Weidman because the last time she did, they both won.
And in L.A.
Yeah, and this will be in L.A., which is a bigger market for anybody that's a fan of Ronda Rousey. Obviously, she lives in L.A. So now, there you go. She's no longer on the New Year's card. I'll stop saying she's on the New Year's card because Cerrone's now fighting on the New Year's card, January 3rd. How do you feel about the move-up? I know a lot of people that purchased tickets to the Vegas New Year's card are pretty pissed that they lost their co-main event of Ronda Rousey, Kat Zingano.
I know. I still don't think that. I mean, it is a big draw, but that's not really what people were buying the tickets for.
No, I mean, John Jones, obviously Daniel Cormier is a bigger fight, but
dude,
as a New Year's card, you have 2 championship fights on the card. To me, that's big.
Hey, the Jones-Cormier thing's so big right now, I honestly believe that's the only fight you could show that night, and people would leave, oh, that was great.
But they've added instead Cerrone and Miles Jury.
So that's going to be a good fight.
That's going to be an amazing fight.
It's going to be a great fight.
So now, instead of, obviously, we were talking about Cerrone and Miles Jury being on the Boston card, they are now switching this all up on us again, and we're going to have Benson Henderson against Eddie Alvarez for the co-main event at
watch
the Boston
out for the
card.
Looper. Eddie, watch out for the Looper.
I like this fight. I like this fight a lot.
I want to see. Yeah.
I think this is going to be a great fight. I mean, Benson was WC champion. He's definitely done really, really well in lightweight. He was the UFC champion as well at one point. And we know
he's got serious reach on Eddie.
And Eddie Alvarez says he is pissed that he lost the Cerrone fight, and he says he has to.
But it was a good fight.
It was an amazing fight.
It was a good fight.
He has to prove it to the UFC fans that he is the underground king and that he will do well in this fight.
So what do you say? Like, if he loses to Benson, what do you think he should do?
I'm sure he's got a pretty big deal with the UFC, man. He's not going anywhere.
But how many times do you let him lose?
4.
4.
I'll give him 4
That's
fights.
your number?
I'll give him 4 because
Okay.
3 is still too many. Because he has a possibility of coming back.
Is Benson positive?
3 in a row? Maybe.
Yeah. Is Benson positive right now or negative?
I think he is 10-2.
Okay. He's 1-2 for his last 2 fights?
No. Let's see. No, that's Alvarez is 10-2 of his last 12. I'm not sure what Benson Henderson's record is at the moment. I'd have to look that up.
Well, obviously someone's sending us some information right now. We are looking up Benson Henderson.
I think it's going to be, like I said, I think it's going to be an interesting fight. Right now, Benson, obviously, he's 21-4. He lost just his last one against Anyo. So
Yeah.
After he lost the title, he came back, snapped his loss against he won Josh Thompson and Rustamov Kabilibov, and now he lost to Rafael Dos Anjos.
Yeah, 2 arms.
Yeah. Good old 2 hands, as Joey says.
That is still wrong. It's not arms or hands.
What about my feet hands?
A little bit of news that has come out is the UFC has decided to back legalize sports betting outside of Nevada.
Wait a minute. I'm going to whiteboard this real quick. So we've got a family that runs casinos and gambling facilities.
Yes.
And their sporting thing that they've started is going to support gambling in and outside of the U.S.
Outside of but just Nevada.
Outside.
They want it
in the U.S.
In the United States.
So we're going national now.
National gambling now.
All right.
That's what they want.
World tomorrow.
They want that. Does this surprise you at all?
Not at all. Isn't that what this is all about?
Do you think it's bad business?
Well,
because
it
goes hand in hand.
Forcing them to come to their station casinos in Nevada to come make bets. Now they can go anywhere. Are they going to open station casinos across the United States?
Possibly a bad business strategy because you have a middle ground where you can have not enough competition as far as casino-wise. But if you open it up across states, there's going to be more competition for them to go against. Now you're going to have more people gambling other places instead of
just in Nevada.
What I'm saying is because it's good for them, but if they want to expand, but so are other people. They're going to expand as well.
I would be suspect that they're in a position to manipulate the market.
Well, here's the thing that Lawrence Epstein, who is their CEO, he says...
Imagine that, Epstein.
He says, I think it will enhance the game as opposed to doing anything to hurt it. Sports wagering done in a way, like Nevada, that is properly regulated will give more confidence to fans that games and fights are not fixed.
What? You think it's fixed? What, are you crazy?
I don't see how that has anything... Because there's more money on it.
They're saying, obviously, the people always say, obviously, I want to know what's going on in Vegas right now. Somebody's obviously got to fix in on this game, especially if it's in Vegas. They can control it more. If all the fights are happening in Vegas, that's where all the betting's going on. Instead of somebody taking action, say in Florida, and the fight's going on in Vegas.
Quit looking behind the curtain. If you want to gamble, gamble. If you don't want to gamble, don't gamble. Nobody's telling you have to gamble.
All right.
Except that little voice that tells you it's only $20 more.
Gamble. Just remember that if you have restless leg syndrome, do not take your medication for restless leg syndrome because, I shit you not,
it causes
increased gambling urges. One of the side effects of restless leg syndrome medicine is increased gambling urges. That is crazy to me. Who would do that? Why wouldn't you find a drug that, decreases gambling addiction, but possibly gives you restless leg syndrome?
I bet you it's only prescribed here in California where we have all the Indian casinos.
Sometimes you get the gambler's leg,
That's my thing. It's like, hey, Bob, how you doing? Well, my wife left me. I lost the house. I lost my 401k. but man, my legs don't move when I sleep anymore.
Steady as a rock. Steady as a rock.
When I lay in my cardboard box at night now, I don't feel the urge to get up and move around.
I don't even kick it apart anymore.
I could just go to sleep. It's great. The last little bit of news before we move on to the recaps that are The Ultimate Fighter and UFC 179. We have New Jersey State Athletic Commission is going to start implementing instant replay in mixed martial arts.
I know we talked about this off the air. I do not understand how you're going to implement this.
They are saying that they will have monitors on the side. There will be a monitor at our disposal that we will be viewing the contest and as it's taking place, and corrections will be made round by round, not at the end of the entire fight. When the bell rings to the end of the round, we will go to the monitor, review the area that we needed to look at, and if it's conclusive, it will be corrected.
At what point? At what? Okay, you know what I mean?
You needed to take a point away because it was a legal blow?
But here's
but
my
you didn't
thing.
take the point away, so now we're going to take the point away?
But like you said earlier, we're sitting here and I'm reviewing something that you possibly could have done. And I hear a thud. That was you who just got knocked out. I just seen something on the review that could have saved your ass from getting knocked out.
I think it might have been. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be pretty interesting. Like, so the only thing I think of is the point thing. Like I said, if I go in a downward, they say the 12-6 is an illegal elbow. John Jones got busted for these when he fought Matt Hamill. Now, if he would have angled him slightly, if he would have been at 11-4 or 5-ish, he would have been fine.
Right.
He would have been fine. If he was hitting like the eye sockets at that angle,
right,
perfectly legal. But because they were straight up and down at 12-6, he got disqualified. He got pulled out of the fight. That's his technically only loss on his record is because of that. Now, if they would have said, I'm watching the replay, you know what? They were actually angled. Just from my angle, it looked straight up and down. From this angle on the replay, I can see that you were slightly angled. You were in the 11-5. You're no longer disqualified.
Okay, so then now we say any fight that
and then
goes...
get back in there. Matt Hamill, I know you're kind of unconscious and bleeding from the face, but get back in there because the fight's still going.
Yeah, so then we're saying any fight that goes to decision, we're not going to tell you the winner of that fight till the end.
See, my thing is...
You know what I mean? And I mean the end of the match. All matches. At the end of like UFC 180,
then we're gonna be like, okay, and this guy won.
If you finished your fight, you won.
Yeah.
But if you had to go to decision, we don't hear about it till the very end.
Well, they're saying, like I said, I think they're saying it's gonna be quicker than that. It's gonna be things that, like, it's gonna be like I said, looking at the elbows, or looking at the head kick, or looking at did he really kick him in the head,
Brandon,
or did he miss and the guy faked?
Yeah, but
kicked in the head.
Brandon, let's go to the World Series. Double play, bigger than shit.
It's true.
11.5 minutes.
Yeah, is this true? Was he out at first or was he not out at first?
11.5 minutes, Brandon. You know what that's going to do for a fighter?
I think he wasn't out at first, and this game should still be playing right now.
Let's figure it.
I can't believe people still watch baseball. So.
Oh, yeah, really? But you know what I'm saying? 11.5 minutes review. That somebody gets all their air back.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. But again, this is end of rounds is pretty crazy. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how this actually takes place.
When you start adding all this stuff, you're taking kind of like the spirit of the competition away, and like.
But a lot of people
said...
The
thing is, if you can't finish the fight, then it's your fault that you're at the will of the
judges anyway.
Judges. So that's it. So why add all these...
Dana White says it all the time, never leave it in the hands of the judges.
Yeah, exactly. And we're here to see people fight. We're not here to see people
If you do leave it in
points.
the hands of the judges, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, if they got Caesar Peoples out there, the guy in the hot dog suit, he won.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like,
that's what you say.
When they're in there fighting, you don't want them thinking, oh, I'm going to score these points. You want them to think, I'm going to knock this motherfucker out.
Dude,
I'm going to tap this guy out. I'm going to snap something,
I'm going to get a bag of dicks. You know what I'm saying? Don't leave it. Don't get the bag of dicks, dude. Don't do it.
Like I said, it's gonna be real interesting to see how they do this, if that's what's gonna be happening. You like that? You like the pumpkin? Yeah. By the way, if you're an underground member on the Underground MMA, you can go. Dana White is doing his annual pumpkin carving contest. You have until midnight.
Look kind of like Dr. Evil. And then
midnight tonight. Whoever wins, you're gonna get a prize package. They'll fly you out to go see the Ultimate Fighter 20 finale in Vegas if you win the pumpkin contest.
If all the fighters make it healthy. If nobody's broken.
So did you watch the Ultimate Fighter?
I caught bits and pieces of it.
Okay, so we had the Ultimate Fighter that was it was during the World Series, which got to suck for anybody that was trying to watch it that is at least in the state of California. Now, There's other states that obviously wouldn't care as much for the San Francisco, Kansas City World Series.
Everybody cares, my friend.
But being Game 7, you think everybody would tune in, but you never know. We did get to see our fights with I can't ever say her name. Asili Daly going up against Angela Magna. She won TKO. We got to see a little bit about both their histories, obviously with Magna sharing her traumatic childhood where she was addicted to heroin. Her parents were drug addicts. She fell out of a 3-story window and broke her back. Her fiance died a day after he proposed. I mean, she's had a rough life.
Does it even confuse you how she got on the show? She probably got halfway into that story and they're like, you go get in the truck. You grab all your shit and get in the truck. You don't have to talk to nobody else. Yeah.
Then we got Daly was having trouble adjusting to the heat. She is from Ireland, so she was having trouble adjusting to the humidity of Las Vegas. They were able to watch the McGregor-Brandao fight on Fight Pass in the Ultimate Fighter House. She said that her training partner in flyweight, Patrick Holohan, dedicated the fight to her. After that, gave her a renewed spirit, and she was able to get through this. Again, she defeated Magna with TKO punches of the third round. Now, there was a little bit of controversy in the round, the very first round. They stood Magna up after 2 warnings of inactivity, even though she had Daly's back. She seemed like she was kind of going for the choke, but in my opinion, I can understand why the ref stood it up, but again, there were a lot of people that were upset saying, look, she was trying to go for a choke, she was trying to move.
It's not nothing new.
Yeah, it happens.
Everybody's making this argument. And there's like you just said, maybe this is something that they can review.
There goes the replay. Yeah, no, she was active.
She was active. Put him back down. Put him back down.
Yeah. So this Team Pettis now, 6-0, man. 6-0. Are we going to see a Team Melendez win? We don't know. From talking to Gilbert Melendez, what was that, a week ago? 2 weeks ago? Mm-hmm. I don't think they're going to win. No. Just his tone where he's like, you got to tune in.
And we got to,
please.
Yeah, and we got to use code because we're part of the clique now. It's Team Penis.
Yeah, Team Penis improves to 6-0. We get to finally see Rose. Rose is going to be fighting next week against Alex Chambers. It's going to be a good fight. I'm excited. And then we had UFC 179. This went down in Brazil. This was our championship fight. Jose Aldo with the rematch against Chad Mendez. Starting at the bottom of the card, we have Tony Martin defeats Fabricio Camoes. Gilbert Burns over Christos Giagos. Andre Touchy-Feely over Felipe Arantes. Wilson Rise against Scott Jorgensen takes him out with a submission arm triangle in round 1. Yan Cabral going up against Naoki Katana, submission in round 2. Neil Magny defeats William Macaro round 3 with a TKO. Then we got onto the main card. Benil Dariush, unanimous decision win over Carlos Diego Ferreira. Pretty good fight, man. It was back and forth. Both these guys, like we talked about,
just a real long card.
Previous fight, the previous podcast, how they were pretty evenly matched. Darren Elkins taking out Lucas Martins with a split decision. It was again a really close one. I definitely could see why it was split. I honestly thought I had Martins winning the fight, but good for Darren Elkins. Then Fabio Maldonado taking out Hans Stringer in the second round. Then getting congratulated by Anderson Silva, who was there at the fights.
Hop the cage, right?
Hop the cage. They were both sitting straddling the top of the cage, gave him hugs and kisses.
Wasn't even worried about breaking his feet hand.
Wasn't worried about it. They were get hugs and kisses, and I guess there was some bad blood between them previously. They were talking trash. Fabio Maldonado started crying and said he was sorry, and then it was a big surprise for him.
So I like to hear with fighters just, I'm sorry.
It's like he was in the wrong, and now they are friends again. Phil Davis taking out Glover Teixeira in a dominant fashion.
Yes.
I mean, this decision was definitely all Phil Davis. And then Phil Davis decides to take a little wind out of Fabio's things and calls out Anderson Silva, saying, people are calling me the Brazilian killer, which, as of late, he has defeated quite a few of the Brazilian fighters. So he said, there's only one Brazilian fighter out there that really matters that I need to be taken out, and that is Anderson Silva. He would love to have a fight with Anderson Silva.
So he needs a shirt that says 115th.
We know he took out Wagner Prado. He's taking out Vinny Miguelis. He's taking out Lyoto Machida. He took out Nogueira. So definitely he's going to be... And now he's taking out Glover. So that'd be an interesting fight. Best, Anderson using one of his 15 fights to move up to 205 and take on Phil Davis. It'd be pretty good. Especially because we know how Anderson doesn't do always the best against wrestlers. It'd be interesting to see. And then we have Jose Aldo retaining his belt and taking out Chad Mendes, unanimous decision. It was a hell of a fight, man. Hell of a fight. Jose Aldo, in my opinion, obviously, you can see by the pictures, he took the most damage in that fight. But we've talked about before, damage doesn't always win fights.
And again, there's just some of these people who look a lot better after being beat than...
But I will give it to Chad Mendes.
Oh, he put it on him.
This is the closest Jose Aldo's been finished in a long time, and he definitely lit a fire into Jose Aldo to try to finish this fight and keep moving.
Yep.
Jose Aldo, I definitely gave rounds 1 and 2. 3 is a little questionable. 4 was all Mendes. 5 is a little questionable. Definitely, I would give 3 out of the 5, though, to Jose Aldo.
I tell you what I'm really ashamed of, though, is that Alpha Male was accusing earlier this week Jose Aldo of greasing himself up. And you just don't have to do that.
I didn't see Chad Mendes using his wrestling hardly at all.
He couldn't. He was oiled up.
Yeah, I didn't see him go for many takedowns. They were definitely standing and trading most of this fight.
Yeah.
So, and it was Jose Aldo whipping those kicks in. It was definitely an interesting fight.
Right.
And again, both guys pushed the pace. So we'll see what happens. Next fight isn't until next week, which we will get to. That will be your Luke Rockhold against Michael Bisping, going down in Australia, live on Fight Pass. We recently talked to Luke Rockhold, so check our SoundCloud, Spreaker, Stitcher, and iTunes, right?
Right.
You can catch that interview. We talked to him a little bit about growing up with a pro surfer brother. Talked to him a little bit about some strange size animals.
Exactly.
And the beef that he has with Bisping.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great interview. I liked it. That's everything you got?
That's everything for this week.
All right, that's everything this week from Ruloff Family Inc. Studios. I'm Dennis. That's Dodge and Josh there in the corner. Again, if you want to get down to Americana Apparel, they're at americanamma.org. Got some killer shirts. Use promotion code SDMMA. Get 10% off your first order. And like I said, check them out. Also, you look for sponsorship, go to MMAsomnia.com. Kick-ass sponsorship advice. Again, that's MMAsomnia.com. We're SplitDecisionMMA.com. And thanks for listening. And hopefully, Joey will see you at the fights.